So perps are basically just gambling, right? Like there's some serious traders maybe use them, but like kind of the benefit to my, now I don't trade perps, but to my knowledge, the real benefit of perps is that you can, place a bet on if BTC is going to go up and become James Wynn and have like a $1.2 billion position at some point or whatever. And there's like this casino gambling aspect to it. So with that in mind, something I've been thinking about is why doesn't Pump Fund build this? Like why doesn't, if Hyperliquid is not necessarily a competitor, but just one of the most popular products alongside Pump right now. But Pump is about to raise $1 billion reportedly via an ICO. Like, what's to prevent them from, say, acquiring Bullet or Drift and then building like the Pumper Liquid, and then you own meme coins and you own perps, assuming you could outperform Hyperliquid. I don't know if that's. I know it's a very technically savvy team.
Yeah, I think it's very different like business models, right? Like I look at Palm more like as a consumer product almost, where you have like this very high turnover of meme coins, and the majority of the volume that you see on like Pump or Radium is actually from assets that were created in the past, like, I don't know, 30 days or so. So I was looking at Radium stats the other day, and if you look at Radium's overall volume, like almost 70% of Radium's volume comes from pools that were created in the past like 30 days. So it's like very new assets. It's like chasing, like being early to the next meme coin and so on and so forth. And for that, like perps doesn't really make sense in my opinion. It's just like that to me is more like gambling, right? And as I was mentioning earlier, AMMs are a lot more efficient in handling the liquidity for these assets. For perps, you see a lot of the volume come from the majors. So I haven't looked at Hyperliquid data like in the past, like very recently. But last time I checked, the majority of the volume of Hyperliquid comes from L1s. Like you can see Bitcoin, Ethereum, Hype, Sol. So it's like a very different like trader profile. And you have like active market makers engaging in the quoting of these assets. Whereas you wouldn't have like market makers quoting a meme coin that is one day old, right? Maybe you would do for like high profile launches like the Trump meme coin, but for most meme coins, it's not really possible. So I think they're really two separate like business models. Like maybe Pump like tries to do that. Like if they raise $1 billion, that is a lot of money, and they can try to expand like their product offering. But I don't think like for their core business, it makes sense to add like perps.
Yeah, it may almost be that like Binance or one of the big sexes is a better contender to try to build a viable Hyperliquid competitor, because I know that Hyperliquid is no KYC. Binance does have KYC checks, and so that might be a benefit to some traders. Certainly people I know don't like to have to go through the whole KYC process to start, placing those perp bets. So maybe Pump isn't the best potential candidate here, and it's probably sexes that have more to lose and gain from trying to compete in that field.
Yeah, I mean, definitely like when I think about Hyperliquid, like main competitors, like it's definitely centralized exchanges are on the top of the list. And you have seen Hyperliquid take some volume like from Binance. Binance has a perps product, by the way. And yeah, some people argue that the only reason traders are using Hyperliquid is just the reason you mentioned, because they offer no KYC. I actually think that's like undermining like what they have pulled off. I think they have like a great product, and that's why people are using them. Although you cannot deny that the no KYC thing is also like a value add for some people.
You mentioned a second ago Radium, and Carlos, you write a fantastic monthly report on Solana every month, and people should check it out. We actually have a print copy at the office because Drift for their DeFi day printed some out. So, I just peruse that like a magazine now and again, the April Solana report or whatever. But I digress. The most recent one, you pointed out something I found interesting, which is that I guess quoting you here, regarding DEX dominance, Radium's market share has decreased from almost 60% at the beginning of the year to 35% as of today. I just want to get maybe like a vibe check on Radium, because I know that for a long time they were, the unofficial partner with Pump Fund for token graduations. They made as much more revenue sometimes than Pump Fund throughout much of 2024, but then obviously Pump Fund launched its own AMM Pump Swap, cut out Radium. Radium launches its own memecoin platform, but clearly that hasn't been able to prevent a loss of market share for them. So what's your outlook on Radium right now? Like, are you bullish on LaunchLab and its ability to kind of bring pump users into Radium? Is there a different outlook or way that they should be thinking about growth going forward?
Yeah, I mean, like when you look at Radium's volume composition, 80% of their volume comes from meme coins, right? So we knew in February when Pump announced they were going to phase out Radium graduations for their own AMM Pump Swap, that it was going to be bearish their volumes in some way or another, because they were losing the largest source at the time of new trading volume. As I mentioned earlier, like for Radium specifically, because they're so reliant on meme coins, new trading volume is the most important thing. About like 2/3 of their volume comes from pools that are less than 30 days old. So what they did is they launched LaunchLab to compete with Radium. And what we're seeing is just this trend of like these types of protocols trying to own the end user. I think Mark from the Blockworks research team put out a great tweet the other day that says, own the user, own the flow. And that resonates a lot with me. Like what's most valuable here is just owning the front end and like owning the entire user flow to like redirect volume to your exchange, right? Pump has been very successful at that. Radium is doing some interesting things. They have been partnering with other like ecosystem players. For instance, I'm thinking about Bonk, which like is using LaunchLab in the back end for their like launchpad product. I don't think it has been as successful as Pump, and they're kind of struggling to gain market share in that regard. But they're an OG DeFi protocol in the Solana ecosystem. The revenues are very strong still. So I think like they can like survive and try to compete in that vertical, but definitely Pump has a big lead when it comes to like launch pads.
Is Radium harmed by the kind of movement away from AMMs to more of these like professionalized proprietary market makers? Because I know that the DEX runs on an AMM. So are they getting less flow from like Jupiter and stuff like that?
Yeah, that's kind of what I was going to mention. I think what you're seeing in the Solana DEX landscape is a bifurcation of DEX dominance, like based on asset type. So on the one hand, I think like AMMs like Radium and PumpSwap will continue to dominate long tail asset volumes, such as new meme coins. I don't think anyone's taking away that from them. On the other hand, for highly liquid markets like the Sol USD pair or stable to stable, like it trades, what you're seeing is an increased flow of volume go to prop AMMs like SolFi. I don't know if I think we've talked about them in your pod, but basically this function very like similarly to like they're not an order book, but they're like Oracle based AMMs where liquidity is protocol owned. So you don't have like any external LPs and you're able to like quote like assets very quickly and provide like the best price execution. So what you're seeing like from the aggregator side is that you're seeing something very interesting actually. Like if you look at SolFi, like about 80% of their volumes comes from aggregators. And what that tells you is that they're providing the best price execution, and aggregators are constantly routing through them for these types of like trades, like Sol USD stable to stable. When you look at Radium and Pump, like the percentage of the volume that comes from aggregators is very low. It's like 20% or something. Like most of their volume comes either directly from their DEX, so people hitting their program directly, or people interacting through a Telegram trading bot or like a trading platform like Axiom. So it signals like very different like trading profiles. And for these, like for Radium and Palm, what's more important is like just owning the end user and providing like this constant like turnover, like new meme coins, like new things to trade, because that's at the end of the day what makes up like 80+% of their volumes.